Welcome back, welcome back. The video cut off. I'm learning about this. See, I used to use this other phone at school, but it wouldn't upload at school. I had to take it home. So I got this phone that will let it upload at school, but I figured out it only lets it go for 19 minutes. And usually notes take longer than that, so I have to cut it off. That was me cutting it off. More fun with sound effects. All right, so part two, which means I'm gonna have to rename the other one that I named part two. This is gonna be further down. All right, so anyway, how we talked about that these guys want to lose their electrons. These are the bad parents who leave their baby at Walmart, leave them at the police station or the bus station. Okay, these halogens over here, they want to gain electrons. And when they do, then they get, because electrons are negative, don't forget that, they're going to get a negative charge. So write on your top of the column of the halogens, write a -1. So the ones near the noble gases want to gain electrons. And so remember, we're pretending these are babies. So these are the crazy people who dress up like a nurse and go to the hospital and try to steal a baby. Did you know people do that? They do. So when I had my youngest son, Joshua, like they have baby LoJack on them. And if you take the baby too far from where they're supposed to be, everything shuts down. The door slam, they lock, and my students in the class were saying they call it a code pink, that somebody's trying to steal a baby. So Joshua, my youngest, when he was 10 days old, he got this disease called RSV. It's a respiratory virus. And he only had a 50-50 chance of living. And we were at Scottish Rite in Atlanta. And I was there, and I noticed that there was no security at Scottish Rite like there is at the hospital where he was born just 10 days previously. So I remember there was this nurse there. And I said, why doesn't I called it baby LoJack, because LoJack's the thing that keeps your car from getting stolen. I said, why doesn't he have baby LoJack on him? And the nurse just laughed. She said, honey, nobody wants your baby. He's broken. He's sick. He's only got a 50-50 chance of living. Nobody wants him. I was like, oh, I want him. So anyway, and then the other thing, going back to Joshua, I always talk about these terrible parents who want to lose their babies at Walmart or the fire station or the bus station. But then I remembered Joshua, a little bit later, once he was a little bit bigger, I left him once. I know, it's terrible. I left him at church. We were the last ones to leave. We were the last car in the parking lot. I get to the car and look at and we get in the car. And I look at my husband and go, where's Joshua? You didn't get him? And he's like, I thought you had him. And we look at each other horrified. There is not another car in this parking lot. We go running back into the church. It is completely dark, running down the hall, bursting into the nursery. And then there's this sweet little old lady holding him, and she laughed and she said, I knew you'd come back for him eventually. I was like, no. But she didn't call defects on us and us lose our Joshua. Anyway, he's a freshman in college now, so I think he survived all of his trials and tribulation of babyhood. So anyway, you can put the bad parents who try to lose their electrons. You can put my picture there because I didn't do it on purpose. But see, that's the difference. The Adams want to lose their electrons. I wanted to keep baby Joshua. I just forgot him. All right. Now, so there is another situation besides people who want to lose their electrons, or people who want to lose their babies, and other people who want to steal a baby. And as I said in the classroom, that some of you watching on video probably have this arrangement in your own family. You're thinking, what is it? In every class they guessed, divorced, okay? So our divorced parents are these over here, and these are non-metals, and they work out sharing agreements, just like divorced parents do. So they share their electron, and it makes a bond called a covalent bond when they do that. And when they do that, they also have the octet rule. They have that completion. We're going to do a lab that you're going to understand that better. I can't decide if we're doing it Monday or Tuesday, but we'll do it soon. So anyway, the sharing arrangement works out. Now, just like with real divorced parents, usually the sharing is unequally. You usually don't go to your mom on Monday, your dad on Tuesday, your mom on Wednesday, your dad on Thursday, right? Usually one parent has you more, usually the mom. But I did know some people in East Cobb who did that. I knew the stepmom, the new mom, and the old mom, the first wife, moved in next door. And the kid had to go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And the stepmom didn't like it. She thought it was a little too close to have the X next door. But anyway, so usually, like like people, the atoms share unequally. And this causes a positive and negative end, because remember, those electrons are negative. So the one that has the electron more has a partial negative charge, and the atom that has the electron less ends up with a partial positive charge. So in our notes, non-metals work out sharing agreements. And we'll talk more about that later. Okay, we'll pick that back up. Now, metals, I say, are hippies. Y'all know what hippies are? There's our peace sign for the hippies. Okay, and this was the thing. The hippies, you know, they were doing all the protests and against the war and stuff in the 60s. In the 70s, they ended up in these hippie communes. They were a little older, they were having kids, but they weren't settling down. And there would be these hippie communes where they would just let the children run around free and wild. And the children weren't assigned to any particular woman for mom or man for dad. They would call all the men dad and all the women mom, and they were usually barefoot and kind of dirty. And this was considered the very best way to raise a child among these hippies. And it was idealized a lot of times in song. There's an old song from that time period from Bobby Sherman called Seattle, and there's a lyric that goes, growing up like a child, beautiful, free, and wild in Seattle. And a lot of these were out west. They were in California, Seattle, these hippie communes. There was another song, Born Free as the wind blows. And it was just this idea that the rules that parents had on kids in the 50s were too strict, and that the hippie parents thought it was so much better to not have any rules, to treat your child as your friend and just part of the commune and all that. And so they would just let them run around free and wild. Now, the thing that really stopped that, I just saw a documentary on it, was the Manson murders. There was this guy named Charlie Manson, and he was in charge of one of those hippie communes. And after those murders, those communes kind of all quit because of that. I watched a weird documentary on it. I do not recommend it. Y'all are too young to be watching Manson murders. All right. So they let their electron run free and wild. And just like the hippies, the electrons are not assigned to any particular nucleus. That the electrons could just run free from one atom to the next, and that causes the metals to have a lot of characteristics that we're going to list later in the notes. They are good conductors of heat and electricity. They're shiny, and all of those things are because they have free electrons. I saw a quote once that said, all that glitters is not gold, but it has free electrons. So it gives it that shine, and see, there's my hands. They're running free and wild and running from one atom to the next, ready to conduct heat and electricity. All right, now, there are 4 ways that we're going to, we can't just talk about hippies and babies. We always have to put the science words in it. So this is 4 ways of saying the same thing. And I am going to draw it here. You can draw it on your periodic table, and then I am planning on letting you use your periodic table as a reference tool on the test. I don't know what Mr. Myrick is doing if you're watching my videos from his class, but that's what I'm planning on doing. So be sure to write on your periodic table. All right, so the first